Okay, good evening. Welcome. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here as we kick off our three-part series on Teshuva. And really, your presence here tonight is a testament to the desire to enter the season in a growth mindset, to try to improve, to grow, to transform, to be better. And it's amazing that you are here, and I'm so grateful to spend some time together tonight thinking about our future, thinking not only about the present, but the future. So often we talk about forfeiting the present because we are stuck in the past and we're worried about the future. Just as past Shabbos, our drasha was all about how to live in the present, not forfeit, not surrender the present. The only dimension that matters, the only dimension that counts, the only dimension that we live in is the present. And that's true. It's 100% true. You can't change the past, and the future is not yet here. And the only dimension we can live in is the present. But by the same token, if we're only living in the present with a mentality and a sense of carpe diem, live and eat and be merry, for tomorrow we may die, just grip it and rip it and live life and live it to its fullest today, and we're not thinking about the consequences and the implications and the accountability and what does it mean, the choices that we're making today, the behavior of today, how will it impact our tomorrow? The future is meaningful, not if we get lost in it and we're worried about it, but the future is incredibly meaningful. And the future is incredibly important to shape and mold how we live in the present, how we live today. Now, many people don't want to think about the future, not to plan for it, not to predict it, not to anticipate it, because for many people, thinking about the future breeds and creates a sense of anxiety and panic and fear. In fact, Rabbi Nachman's great teaching, the great song, which I will spare you from singing, Kol ha'olam kulo, Gesher Tzar Ma'od, the whole world is a very narrow bridge. And it feels like in the world we're living in these last 11 plus months, it's getting narrower and narrower and more flimsy and more fragile. The whole world is a narrow bridge. We're trying to just pass, trying to get to the end of each day, trying to connect. And it gets more narrow and it feels more fragile. V'ha'ikar, and the main thing taught Rabbi Nachman is lo. So classically we sing it as lo lefached klal. I've pointed out before, and so many of these ideas we're sharing tonight, we've shared, we've taught, but they bear repeating and reminding, if not only for myself. But Rabbi Nachman's actual original language, if you look in Likutei Maharan Tanina Mem Ches Beis, V'da she'adam tzarech lavor al gesher tzar ma'od ma'od, v'ha'klal v'ha'ikar shelo yispached klal. Rabbi Nachman doesn't say lo lefached klal. He doesn't say the main thing is to not fear. He doesn't say the main thing is to not be afraid. He says the main thing is not to lehispached. What does yispached mean? It's in the reflexive form. Hitpael. It means don't make yourself afraid. You see, fear is not inherent and intrinsic. Fear is not automatic and inevitable. Fear is something that if we're in the wrong mindset and the wrong space, and we're thinking about it and focused and worried, then we transform, we turn ourselves, we make ourselves afraid. So Rabbi Nachman said the whole world is a narrow bridge. And it feels like it's more and more narrow. And the main thing is submit, surrender, recognize his role. Nothing is random or chance. He's guiding us and escorting us. And when we think in that way, the main thing is, we've got to all sing it differently going forward. Not lo lefached, lo lehispached klal. One of my favorite quotes of Mark Twain. Mark Twain said, I have known a great many troubles, but most of them never happened. I've known a great many troubles. A person could know great many troubles. What if this and what if that and what if the other thing, and I'm struggling with this and how is that going to work out and how will that turn out? I've known a great many troubles, but most of them never happened. So the main thing is lo lehispached, not lo lefached. Stay calm and serene and trust in Hashem, as we always talk about. We didn't come up with this. Let go and let God. So when you consider the future, many people say, I don't know what the future is going to bring for my health, my mental health, my family, the Jewish people, the Jewish condition in the world. How can we not get afraid? For many, it's difficult to picture the future because we live in the present. We live in a time that is consumed by on-demand. We're living in the generation of instant gratification. And we all know that. We want everything on demand. Our food to be delivered on demand. Our entertainment on demand. We want a new car lease and an upgrade to our phone. We want our spouse and our children to behave on demand. Only you can't program or subscribe to them as easily. So we're living in this world of on demand. And in fact, there are many articles, and I'm happy to share these source sheets, many articles that emphasize that so much of the world's marketing emphasis today is all about the promise of on demand. The more we can fulfill on demand, be a Amazon Prime member, be a Walmart, what's it called? Plus, like before you press order, there's a knock on your door and they're schlepping the bottles of soda for you. And whoever can deliver it quicker and more on demand and fulfill that promise faster, that's who we subscribe to. And that only is upping the expectation more and more and more that our life is going to be fulfilled on demand. But the Torah, our whole platform, our whole way of life, all of Jewish life and living all of Jewish law, is not about instant gratification and a life on demand. It's all about learning to live with delayed gratification. Our whole life is about delayed gratification. For example, the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos teaches us schar mitzvah neged hefseda, that a person should contemplate. The opening Mishnah, the second chapter of Avos. Ezei derech sheyavor lo adam. What is the straight path, the narrow path that a person should live? And the Mishnah continues. Be careful with a mitzvah that seems light, like striction at the we don't know the real reward. Think about, if you sleep in right now, it might feel good in the moment. There's instant gratification. But how are you going to feel later? How are you going to feel later? I have a member of my family whose son struggles to get up and go to minyan. And his mother tells me that whenever he misses minyan and struggles to get to minyan, and the mother says, you missed minyan, you slept in, I can't believe it. He says, Mom, you can't possibly beat me up more than I beat myself up. I'm so upset, and it's a strategy, it's brilliant. I'm so sad, and I'm so miserable, and I'm so upset about it. There's nothing you can say to me that I haven't said to myself. I'm much more upset than you could ever be in me. So why doesn't he jump out of bed the next time, so he doesn't have to be so upset at himself and see his mother? Because the person, that instant gratification, the alarm, the snooze, the cancel, a few more minutes of sleep, the next minyan, the late minyan, the later minyan, until I can't, there is no more minyan. But if a person thinks, how do I feel later when I'm ashamed, when I'm embarrassed, when I have to face the person I've disappointed? So the Mishnah encourages us. Don't indulge in the instant gratification. Think about the future. Think about what you're invested in. Think about the payoff. The same thing with the mitzvah. You have an opportunity to do a mitzvah. It's more convenient. It's more comfortable. You could be lazy and not do it. But you know what you're forfeiting? You know what you're giving up? You could have invested. Every Jackie Mason of blessed memory had a whole routine, which I won't do in his voice, as tempted as I am, that every Jew has a building in Manhattan he could have owned. I should have owned. I could have bought that building. As a Lago, 10 Lagos. When I first moved to Boca, if I would have bought 10 Lagos, what I'd be worth now. Everybody has. So a mitzvah is worth more than all the Lagos in the world. A mitzvah is worth more than all the buildings in Manhattan in the world. But what happens in that moment? We underestimate the value of the mitzvah, the instant gratification, so we forfeit and we don't invest in it. So we're living in a world of instant gratification and on demand, and the Torah says that's not what life's about. That's not how you find meaning and purpose in this world, by having all your needs met and by living in a place that your expectation and your entitlement is everything on demand. In fact, in Sefer Dvarim, Torah records that Moshe Rabbeinu shares memories of how God made the Jewish people when we were traveling through the desert. We were uncomfortable, we were hungry, we were tired. And before Hashem gave us the manna, the miraculous manna that fell from heaven, that Hashem later gave us as a test. So why didn't he give it to us right away? And what was the test of eating the manna? The manna was a gift. It's incredible. It tasted like anything you want. Although I'd like to believe it couldn't taste like kale, because nobody wanted kale. Even Hashem was like, nope, not kale. Milchik, fleishik, but not kale. Tasted like anything you want. It's a miracle. It's amazing. So how is it a test? So Ibn Ezra says, the matzah we took out of Mitzrayim lasted about a month. And when the matzah ran out, Hashem did not immediately replace it with man. That meant that there was a delay. There was time in between which we ran out of one food, but we didn't yet know what we're going to eat. So we had to live with hope and faith. We had to live with belief, and we didn't have the instant gratification of the food at our fingertips. The Rashbam says 40 years of sleeping without food reserves in our homes. Today we go to Costco. We buy in bulk. And the big, I don't even want to say, Al Tiftach Pele Satan, the season, some predicted. Please God, it won't happen. It hasn't happened. But you go to Costco and you buy in bulk. And now you have, for Armageddon, 3 years worth of cereal, pasta, tissues, paper towels, you're ready to go. But the mann didn't fall in bulk. The mann didn't fill a pantry. The mann didn't fill a shelf. All you had was for that day. So the test was, you don't know what you're going to eat tomorrow. Instant gratification. You had to delay. You had to delay. In Parshas Toldos, the Torah tells us the story of Esau. Esau comes back from the field. The hunter, he's tired, he's spent, he's hungry. And he tells Yaakov, I'm so hungry. And the Torah there describes vividly Esau's inability to delay gratification. But I'm hungry now. Give me some of that red stuff. It looks delicious and I'm hungry. I have to sell my birthright. I have to sell eternity. I have to sell immortality. I have to sell everything. Yeah, but I'm hungry right now. And that looks really good. And I don't want to wait to eat. What are we willing to sacrifice? What are we willing to give up? What part of our soul are we willing to sell? Because we want it right now. We want it right now. According to Rashi, I'm just bringing you all these sources, all these pieces of evidence that all of our mistakes in the Torah is a whole prescription for how to not live a life demanding instant gratification, but how to cultivate and condition and learn the art of delayed gratification and what that does for our relationships, for our meaning, for our purpose, for ourselves. According to Rashi, the Chet HaEgel, the sin of the golden calf, occurred because Moshe went up and he said, I'll be back in 40 days. And we pressed go on the calendar, but we miscalculated by a day. And so when he didn't come down, we began to panic. And we didn't say, give it some time. Maybe there's traffic. Maybe he's delayed. Maybe the flight was delayed. We didn't say it. We said, this is when he's supposed to land. This is when he's supposed to arrive. If he's not here, everybody donate. Let's build a calf. Let's bow down. Let's worship. That whole mistake of the bowing to the golden calf was bowing to the inability to delay gratification. This is when we want him. This is when we expect him. And when he doesn't come, there is panic. Absolute panic ensues. We see the Jewish people are ultimately, we master the art of how to wait, how to delay gratification, how to spend time. The one who taught us that is none other than our great leader Miriam. Miriam, who throughout her life waited. And because of that, the Jewish people wait for her. When she experiences a punishment because she gossiped about her very brother, and she's outside the camp because she has tsaras, leprosy, the entire camp, 2 to 3 million people, the whole nation waited for her. Why was she deserving of our waiting for her? Because she waited for us. She waited at the Nile for her brother Moshe to make sure he was taken care of. She waited and watched to see that Moshe would not be raised by an Egyptian. She waited, and therefore we wait for her. And we've learned, says Rabbi Soloveitchik, that we, through our history, have learned the art of and the importance of how to wait, how to delay gratification, how to be patient, how to wait. Some say, in fact, that is what the Jewish food of cholent is all about. You put it up on Friday, and it's put in a crock pot. I never understood why anyone buys crock pots other than Jews. But a slow cooker and a crock pot where you put food up, and it's supposed to cook overnight, and the gratification only comes later. It only comes later. It's slow baked meat and vegetables, what cholent stands for, the French word, where it comes from, all for another time. So Jewish people and Judaism is all about the ability to delay gratification. Yesterday we had our mitzvah market. If you missed it, you missed an incredible day. Amazing mitzvah opportunities, vendors get ready spiritually and physically for the holidays. But down the middle of the room was an enormous marshmallow test. There weren't marshmallows, but Rabbi Moskowitz pointed out that it was really in some ways the ultimate marshmallow test, because we made a youth activity to come and volunteer and pack the candy bags for Simchas Torah. But if a kid didn't know why they were coming, you came in and you saw all these candies and you wanted it right now. But really we were saying, help us volunteer pack the bags, and the payoff's going to only come in several weeks from now, Simchas Torah, when you get the candy bag. And that in many ways is the ultimate marshmallow test. The marshmallow test goes all the way back 50 years ago, where this psychological test research was done. 2 groups of children, those who were rewarded if they could delay, those who wanted instant gratification, you got double if you were able to wait and delay. And those children, they studied over time, those who were able to delay gratification, those who were able to wait. So later in life, they had a higher SAT score, a lower body mass index. Those who in the marshmallow test could live with delaying gratification scored better in life in every which way. Over the last couple of years, there are some questions about the marshmallow test and was it done right and how accurate it is. But on the whole, it's still accepted for the most part of the power of the marshmallow test, that it proves when we hone that skill, when we learn that capacity to wait, to delay gratification, to not need it right now, then our world is better. That's what the Mishnah says. The Mishnah says our whole world is one big marshmallow test. That's a loose translation of the Mishnah Navos. This world is a hallway, a passageway before the world to come. So therefore, prepare yourself in this hallway so you could get into the palace. Don't think this world is the destination. This world is the journey. Don't think that this is all there is. This is not the ends. This world is the means. Don't get confused. So don't indulge in every opportunity and pleasure of this world. Be disciplined and sovereign over yourself and delay, because in the world to come, I remember reading a book once. I didn't do it and I regret I didn't. But that said, you want to teach financial responsibility to children. One of the great suggestions is you give a child their birthday present, their Hanukkah geld, and you say to them the following: I'm going to give you the money. If you want it and you want to use it right now, here's X, $10. If you put it in the bank account and you're going to leave it for X amount of time, I'll give you $20. I want to reward you for your willingness to put it away and to wait and to watch it grow and to teach and reward young people to learn to live. We're living in a generation the opposite of people in debt and maxing out credit cards because I want it. I want that technology. I want the new car. I want the latest release. I want and I need to keep up, and not learning the importance of delaying gratification and investing in the future. So the core, at the essence of this struggle to delay gratification, really is the fundamental relationship we have with our future self. Which our future self? It's very hard to have a relationship with our future self. You know why? Because he or she is not yet here. How could I have a relationship with a davar shelo ba la'olam, with something that isn't extant, that doesn't exist? What I have right now is my growling stomach. What I have right now are what my eyes see, the appetite. What I have right now is my drive, my temptation, my ambition, my aspiration. The future, how that will impact me later on, I'll deal with it when I get there. I don't know that person yet. I'm not yet there. So how can I think about it? Many people struggle. We live in the disposable, upgradable, returnable culture. There's studies shown about the impact of Zappos and Amazon, whose return policies have seeped into every level of our existence. We are horrified, almost offended by the thought that the impulse of today will have repercussions that can't be ignored tomorrow. What do you mean? I'll return it. I'll replace it. I'll upgrade it. I'll turn it in. What do you mean that I have it, or that I'm stuck with it, or that it has to stay with me? What does that mean? We're not used to that. But we should be used to that, because it's incredibly important to understand our future self. So I read a book which was the basis of what I'm sharing with you tonight. And the book is conveniently called Your Future Self. I highly recommend it. I'm really giving you the highlights of it tonight against a Torah backdrop or through a Torah filter. It's written by Hal Hirschfield, How to Make Tomorrow Better Today. How to Make Tomorrow Better Today, Your Future Self. And in it, he quotes studies that basically say the following. When people think of themselves in the future, it feels to them like they're seeing a different person entirely, like a stranger on the street. The author is a social psychologist at UCLA. He says the following: he found the emotional disconnect we have with the person we will become in 20 to 40 years could explain, for example, why many people don't save enough for retirement, why they continue to indulge in unhealthy behaviors, why they accept the risk of incurring terrible diseases in the future, why they make bad ethical decisions despite knowing they might suffer the consequences down the road. In other words, on a brain level, the future self looked like another person. In other words, he studied the following. Again, I never understand exactly how you measure this, how you study this, where you see this, but that's why they're scientists and researchers and I'm not. And he found the following. He said, my relationship with me right now, there's no closer relationship in the world. I know me better than I know anyone else. I give myself the benefit of the doubt. I love myself. I know myself. I have a relationship with family. There are concentric circles, friends, acquaintances, neighbors, community. My future self, the me in 10 or 20 or 30 years. What's my relationship like with my future self? Is that like a sibling? Like a family member? Like a friend? Like a neighbor? And what he found is The research participants who had the biggest difference in brain activities, the people for whom the future self looked most like another person, were the ones who were the least patient about making a financial decision during an exercise. They weren't willing to wait for larger financial rewards later. What he found is that most of us, our relationship with our future self is a complete stranger. The future me will have to live with the repercussions of the choices and decisions I make today is like a complete and utter stranger. Like a stranger. In the brain, in our brain, our future, if I stop you and I say, don't eat that right now, do you know what that's going to do to your arteries? Do you know what that's going to do to your pancreas? Do you know what that's going to do to your waistline? Sleep more. Do you know what that's going to do to your neurological function? You say, I don't even know who you're talking about. That's a future me. I have no relationship. I have no connection. That's what his research found, that our future self is a stranger, that the dopamine system that we have triggers an emotional reaction to what's right in front of us, even if it's at the expense of our future. We're more invested and we're more eager to make ourselves happy and to derive pleasure in the present, even if it's going to impact us negatively, even if it's going to hurt us in the future. We overweigh now in a way that makes us treat the present as an expanse of time that is divorced from the rest of timelines. So what I want to share are some thoughts and ideas how we can better think about our future self, not because we want to sacrifice or forfeit the present for the future, so that we can live most fully in the present. We can make the best decisions in the present. We can mold the best lifestyle in the present. The Heilige Sfas Emes, the great Ger Rebbe, in Parshas Truma, tells us the following. The menorah, the great candelabra of the Mishkan of the Tabernacle, was made from gold. And for Moshe Rabbeinu, it was complicated. How do you fashion a complicated, intricate candelabra with knobs and flowers and stems out of one piece of gold? Not separate parts that were assembled, but one piece of gold. So the Medrash tells us that, in fact, HaKadosh Baruch Hu showed Moshe a vision of what it would look like, and he took the gold and he threw it in the fire and emerged complete. Hashem is the one who did it. So the Sfas Emes is bothered. He asks, if God's the one who ultimately delivers on the one solid, beautiful menorah candelabra, why did Moshe have to have a vision? Why did he give Moshe this vision, this picture of what it would look like? Just give him the finished product. What do you need the vision of it for? And the Sfas Emes says an incredible, important idea. He says, even when you'll merit divine assistance, even when God will step in and help us complete our task, our dream, our mission, if we don't have a vision, if we don't have a plan, if we don't have a picture, if we can't see what we're looking to do, God won't help us. We only get divine assistance to accomplish a future goal if we have a vision of what it's going to be. So how many of us have a vision of who and where we want to be in a year from now, in 5 years from now, in 10 years from now? We go for a job interview, we apply for a job, on a date perhaps, or our date's parents ask us, what's your vision? What's your plan for the future? But how many of us in our own lives have a plan and have a vision? Where do I want to be? Who do I want to be? Because even if we're going to rely on divine assistance, God's going to escort us and help us get there. The only way we're going to get there is if we first pause and think and reflect, and we're contemplative to have a vision. In Kohelet, Shlomo Melech, the wisest of all men, tells us, Hechacham einav barosho, v'aksil b'choshev holech. A wise person, a fool, einav barosho. The fool doesn't have eyes in their head. Hechacham einav barosho. A wise person has eyes in their head, but the fool person walks around in the darkness. Who doesn't have eyes in their head? Where else are your eyes? Everyone's eyes are in their head. So what does Shlomo HaMelech mean? Chacham einav barosho. The definition of a smart person is einav barosho. So I want to share with you a beautiful insight that will connect to the holiday of Sukkot, which is rapidly coming upon us. We know that the four species correspond with different organs, different parts of the body. The lulav is the spine, and the esrog is the heart, and the aravos are the lips, and the hadassim, the myrtles, are the eyes. Now, when it comes to 3 out of the 4 species, the correlating number works out perfectly. There's 1 lulav, and we have 1 spine, and there's 1 esrog, and we have 1 heart, and there's 2 aravos, 2 willow branches, and we have 2 lips. But how many hadassim do we have? 3. How many eyes do we have? 2. If someone had 3, we'd look at them very funny, in a very peculiar way. We have 2 eyes. So where's this third eye that the Hadassim come to correlate with, that they represent or reflect? So some say this third eye, this third Hadas, is the third eye. And where is the third eye that we have? And what does the third eye see? So the Mishnah Navos in Pirkei Avos teaches, Ezu Chacham Lomed Mikol Adam. Who is a wise person? Someone who learns from everybody. The wise person is not the one who thinks they're the smartest in the room. They have to talk the most in the room. Everybody has to listen to them. They have a monopoly on the truth. The smartest person in the room thinks they have something to learn from everyone else in the room. That's the smartest person in the room. And we're all familiar with that Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, who is the strongest, the one who conquers their inclination, and who is the smartest, the one who learns from everybody. But in Tamid, the Gemara in Tamid, on Daf Lamed Beis, has a different answer to the same question. Ezo Chacham, who is a wise person? Haroa es hanolad. It's a person who sees that, what's hanolad? That which will be born, that which has been born. We have a third eye that doesn't see what exists right now. Our third eye, you know what it sees? It sees what's coming down the pipe. It sees what is coming in the future. It sees what's the consequence, what's the result, what's going to emerge from what I'm doing, what I'm deciding, the action I'm taking right now. Right now. We can't, that third eye, the third eye doesn't see what's right in front of us. What makes someone smart is that they don't live in the here and now on demand. They don't live in a world of instant gratification. What makes someone smart is that they're roa es hanolad. They have the ability to see and anticipate and plan for and make decisions understanding their future. The Yama Musar points out it doesn't say choshev o medaber, who is smart, someone who can think about the future or speak about the future. It's ro'eh. It's the person who can see the future. What does it mean, see the future? To see the future means my imagination is so vivid. My capacity to picture is so strong that it's not just that if I eat this right now, I think about I'm going to be heavy later. I'm going to have clogged arteries later. I'm going to have a poor lab report later. I'm roa. I see my waistline grow. I see the lab report come back. I see my arteries get clogged. Ezo Chacham, to be wise, is to live life, to walk into every room, every conversation, and every decision and judge it, not based on the moment, not on the here and now, not on the instant gratification, but make that decision based on I'm being roa. I'm seeing, I'm picturing, I'm imagining, I'm dreaming. The Gra, the Vilna Gaon says, in fact, he says, you know what the next world is? All the decisions we're making, we said this world is a hallway, and we're really living for the next world. That's the palace. That's the main ballroom. So what's life like in the world to come? When we get upstairs after 120, how does he hold us accountable? How are we rewarded for our good decisions and punished for our bad ones? And there are a lot of answers to this question. It's not our subject for tonight, but the Gra, the Vilna Gaon, says the following. And it's a very powerful image we can appreciate much more in our lifetime than the Vilna Gaon could have in his. But he essentially says, he talks about it as we see the story. I would say it as, Kadosh Baruch Hu says, come, my kid, come sit on the couch. Here's some popcorn, and here's a really big soda, and now we're going to press play on YouTube, and we're going to watch your life. We're going to watch your life, not only the good parts and the proud parts, not only the public parts. You and I, says God, puts his arm around us, says the Gra. We're going to watch every part of your life. The parts that when you thought nobody saw, the decisions you made, the thoughts that you had, the parts that you deleted, the parts that you went through an incognito window, the parts when you cleared the cache and the cookies, the parts when there was no video camera and you thought nobody can see. Hashem says, come, puts his arm around us and he says, come. And the moments we're incredibly proud, Kadosh Baruch Hu catches us doing an amazing chesed. He says, way to go, I'm proud of you. Nobody saw it, nobody gave you credit in that world, but up here, unbelievable. But all of us are going to have those moments that we're going to cringe and we're going to crawl into the cushions of the couch and we're going to say, Hashem, I don't want you to see. I'm so ashamed. I'm so embarrassed. I'm so humiliated. So we should live our life knowing whatever we're doing, it's being recorded. Whatever we're doing, it's going to be on that YouTube video. Now here's the good news, says the Gra. Here's the incredible news, and that's the time we're finding ourselves in now, Elul. We have the editing technology. The parts of the video that you're cringing and you're ashamed and you're embarrassed and humiliated and you desperately don't want to be watching with God, I can make it worse. God doesn't just watch it with you. First, he says, I brought your mother and your father. I have your siblings. I brought your teachers. I brought all the people who've praised you and who look up to you and who think you're the greatest gift in the world. And we're all going to watch it together. We took a whole theater. I gave out popcorn to everybody, and we're all going to watch it together. If that's not enough to help you make the right choices in this world, now we have the ability to edit the video. We can edit it sincerely. We have the software. Hashem enables us, he empowers us. He gives us the ability to edit that video. But says the Gra, it will inform and inspire your life if we realize that as we live life, it's all being recorded. And again, our generation can appreciate this more than any that came before us. And yes, take advantage of Elul and Rosh Hashanah, Aseret Teshuva. Let's edit it out. Let's leave this world with the proudest complete video. We're done. Hashem, absolutely invite everyone I know. I've done all the hard work, all the tshuva, all the editing. We've spliced and diced and published a video. We've gone public. I'm ready for the world to see. That's what tshuva is. That's the gift that we've been given. But says the Gra, what leads us to want to edit that video, what leads us to make the right decisions is to live with that acute awareness and mindfulness of our future selves, to think about our future selves even while we are here. That's what the Shulchan Aruch writes. In the very opening of the Code of Jewish Law, the Ramah in the beginning of Shulchan Aruch writes that a person needs to wake up and jump out of bed and think, Shivisi Hashem Lanegdi Samid, Hu Klal Gadol Ba'Torah, that a person has to be inspired to think about the future and the accountability to Hashem, to be aware of and to be thoughtful of and to be picturing not only the present, but to look to our future, not a physical vision, but it means to see with the mind, to be ro'eh es hanolad, to live and to see. Yosef is called a chacham. When he comes out and he interprets Paro's dreams, and it's amazing to me that we haven't learned this lesson. We're going through an economic challenging time in many industries, and you wonder, the people in that industry, don't they know since the time of Yosef that markets and industries, they have fat years and they have thin years, and somehow we're fooled that every time we're in a period of fat years, we think that's the way it's going to be forever. And people over leverage, and people take personal guarantees, and people think that this is the way we create lifestyles that assume that income. Yosef taught us that economy works in cycles. There are fat years and there are thin years. And when he comes out and he gives this prediction to Paro, Paro says, ooh, ein chacham kamocha, ein navon v'chacham kamocha. How insightful, how analytic, how brilliant. And you say, chacham, you don't have to be a chacham, you just have to be an accountant. You just have to know how to store food. What was so brilliant? So the Sefer Ni'imos Yomeru says, you need to be a chacham because Yosef did something no one else around was doing. You know what he did? He was roa es hanolad. He says the way it is right now is not the way it's always going to be. So stop living high in the hog. Stop feeding on this fat economy. Stop assuming that we're always going to have these fat years. The tide's going to turn. The economy works in cycles. So it's not just don't assume this will be forever. What do you need to do right now that when the economy turns, you have storehouses and storehouses of food, and the entire globe, the entire world will turn to you? You'll be the superpower and the empire of the world because you'll be the only one with resources and commodities. And the only way to do that is to think about our future and have that impact our present. And the ability to look and think about the future and inform, therefore, living a best present, you know what that's called? Inna chacham v'navon kamocha. That's a chacham. To be roa es hanolad is the art of chachma. It's what it means to be a chacham. That's why Yosef is called a chacham. And so that's what we all need to do. We all need to work on. It's what I want to share with you tonight, is that this time of the year to not only take stock in our past, to learn from it what we can improve and what we can be better, but perhaps the greatest motivator is not only to think about the past. Certainly we have to take responsibility, we have to apologize, and we have to have remorse, and we have to reconcile when appropriate. But if we want to live our best lives in the present, we need to do better at thinking about and picturing our future. Practical planning for our future self. So I'll give you one example. I'll give you many examples, but I'll give you one. There's a lot of Torah literature. I'm happy to share these source sheets with anybody who wants later. How the future is born. Why is it called Roa Es HaNolad? Roa, you're seeing Es HaNolad. Why don't we say Roa Es HaAsid? See the future. Why Nolad? What's Nolad? Born. Why are we invoking the imagery of being born? We're saying who's wise? Someone who sees the future. Don't just live for the here and now. Picture the future. Right now, you have a credit card. You go through the mall. You buy and you buy and you buy, and it feels fantastic because your credit limit's really high. But a person who lives in the future, what do they see? They see the bill coming. And now they see the interest rate they're going to have to pay if they don't pay it all off on time. Person who lives in the future, it's going to inform and guide their present. So what they're doing, Roa Es HaAsid, you're seeing the future. But we don't call it that. We call it Roa Es HaNolad. Who's wise? Who's a chacham if you're Roa Es HaNolad? Says the Chassam Sofer. Why is it called Nolad? You know what's called Nolad? The future is called born because what will be the consequence tomorrow is being conceived today. It's not that there's no connection between that result and what you have to live with later and right now. We don't think of it that way. We are conceiving, we are right now conceiving what will be born in the future. The future is born from our present right now. So we need to think about that. Our choices, our actions in our present, the future is being born out of what we do and the choices we make right now. So one example I'll give you is sleep. Is sleep. The impact of sleep. The impact of no sleep. With technology today, all of us, there's a whole psychological term for it. Why we stay up late at night, why we punish ourselves by staying up or reward ourselves by staying up, people who watch and people who scroll and people who give in. Seinfeld has a whole routine. He's Jewish, so I can quote him in my source sheets. I never get enough sleep. I stay up late at night because I'm the night guy. Night guy wants to stay up late. What about getting up after 5 hours of sleep? Oh, that's morning guy's problem. Not my problem. I'm night guy. I stay up as late as I want. So you get up in the morning, the alarm, you're exhausted, groggy. You hate the night guy. See, night guy always messes up morning guy. There's nothing morning guy can do. The only thing morning guy can do is try and oversleep enough so day guy loses his job and night guy has no money to go out anymore. That's the only. What's Seinfeld's whole routine? He delivers it a lot better than I just did. But what's the whole routine is we mistakenly create a disconnect between night guy and morning guy. So at night we think there's no consequence for staying up as late as we want. And every morning we pay when the alarm goes off for that consequence. We pay for what that means. We live sedentary lives. People sit in front of a computer, they sit on a couch, they sit and they read the newspaper, and we're not active. We're not getting the basic minimum movement and number of steps. And all the research today shows that people who live sedentary lives, it is as negative impact on our health as smoking packs of cigarettes. And we read it, we say it's interesting, and we forward it, and we share it, and we comment on it over our chalent and kishka and kugel at the Shabbos table, all while we're sitting still before we crawl to our bed for our Shabbos nap. We sit in the sun. We want to look good because we're from Florida. So particularly in the winter when we go up north, it doesn't look right if we're pale as ghosts. So we have to sit in the sun and get a suntan. But what's the impact? My father-in-law would be proud. He's a dermatologist. What's the impact of baking in the sun and long term? So, the Torah gives us a mitzvah, an obligation to care for ourselves. Torah tells us, Umisari echazeh eloka, a pasuk in Eov. Umisari echazeh eloka, I behold God through my body. If I have a healthy body and I live a healthy life, then I can see and experience and represent and connect with God. But if I'm compromised and I'm sick and I'm not of right mind and I'm struggling chronically, how could I fulfill my mission in this world? How could I connect and commune with Hashem? We have to take great care to preserve our lives. The Chavetz Chaim observed it's a mitzvah to take care of our life and our health, and he wrote, the entire Torah is dependent on the mitzvah of taking care of your body. All the other 612 mitzvahs, we can't do them. You can't blow the shofar if you're out of breath from blowing up a balloon. You can't take the lulav and esrog if you can't even lift a lulav and esrog. You can't put on the tefillin if you... All of the mitzvahs of the Torah. I can't run to do chesed, and I can't sit and concentrate on learning, and I can't experience and be the platform and the conduit for all the sacred holy mitzvahs of the Torah if I don't take care of myself. The Rambam taught exercise is the supreme preventative medicine. And he writes, inactivity is a detriment to health as activity is a benefit. The Rambam, way ahead of his time, the Rambam, a physician himself, talks all about the responsibility to live a healthy life, not as a secular or mundane responsibility. The Rambam writes about it as a religious imperative, as a religious experience. I'll read to you the words of the Pele Yoetz. The Pele Yoetz writes, whoever doesn't guard himself from everything harmful is answerable for his life and is destined to give accounting for all the lost time he has caused himself. If we don't take care of ourselves through sleep and through eating and through our mental health, through breathing properly, through all that we've learned and all the tools that we have and all the apps today and everything that is available, if we don't take care of ourselves and therefore it costs us time, it takes hours or days or years of our life, we are responsible for them. And writes to Pele Yoetz, imagine someone has passed away and is now standing before the heavenly court, which is examining his deeds and his misdeeds. And the court says to the defendant, we find that for a period of 14 years you failed to put on tefillin, to keep Shabbos, to do any of the mitzvos. And the poor soul begins to scream, how dare you say that? I never missed a day of tefillin in my life. I never violated Shabbos in my life. And the heavenly court says, but your life was 14 years shorter than it could have been. You forfeited 14 years of Shabbos and tefillin and chesed and learning because you didn't take care of yourself, because we didn't take care of ourselves. Great people understood that responsibility. Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak Schneerson, the Frierdiker Rebbe, the sixth Lubavitcher Rebbe, he would chain smoke in the 40s before it was known the negative health implication of smoking. And the story is told that he had a fateful talk with his doctor who described the dangers and the research. And towards the end of the conversation, without batting an eye, physician pulled out a pack of smokes and offered one to his patient. But I don't smoke, the Rebbe said. So the doctor said, did I hear you correctly? I used to smoke, the Rebbe explained. But that changed a few minutes ago when you just told me the negative impact of smoke. It's an amazing story of the Frierdiker Rebbe, but I could tell you, Rabbi Gene Klein, Oval HaSholem, many of you knew Rabbi Klein who lived in our community. Rabbi Klein of blessed memory, very special man whom we miss. He told me, he also was a chain smoker, many packs a day. One day he picked up his daughter from school and she came in the car and she said, Daddy, how could you smoke? I learned in school today that smoking kills you, that smoking takes your life. He said he took the pack of cigarettes out of his jacket pocket, he tore the pack in half in front of her, and he never touched a cigarette again for the rest of his life. The incredible willpower. But he understood his future self, and his daughter was the one who helped get him there, who helped him understand that, We have to understand the impact of the choices we're making, and the danger and the damage that we're doing, You understand how bad a bad diet is on our life? Studies show the poor diet is the leading risk factor for death in the majority of the countries of the world, a large determinant of ill health than either tobacco or high blood pressure. 11 million deaths a year are linked to poor diet around the globe. Diet. So right now we're hungry and we have an appetite and we are temptation. Right now we crave that food and it's right in front of us and it's incredible. And we have this deluxe kiddush, an incredible spread, an amazing shmorg, and what a simcha. And we keep upping it, the level of competitiveness of it and the cost of it, but also the negative health impact of it. But if we'd live for our future self, if we could project into the future, if we had the crystal ball, if we were watching the film of our life, maybe cut short, the lab report, the implication, the consequences of the decision that we're making, what would happen if everyone around the globe began to eat a healthy diet, filling 3/4 of their plates with fruit, vegetables, and whole grains? We'd run out. A recent study published, researchers at one university found there would not be enough fruit and vegetables to go around. We don't come close to that because that's not what we fill our plates with. Similarly, sleep. This one's very scary. This one scares me terribly. If you're trying to get by on about 6 hours or less of sleep a night, you're setting up your brain for future failure. A study in the journal Nature Communications. After following 8,000 people for 25 years, the study found a higher dementia risk with sleep duration of 6 hours or less at age 50 and 60 compared to those who slept 7 hours a night. So right now it feels like, and it's almost a commodity, people compete and they show off. How often do I hear? I'm embarrassed to tell you, how often do I say, I don't need a lot of sleep. I get by without sleep. Now it happens to be, if any of us went to a sleep lab and they actually tested our cognitive function on that little sleep, we would find that we're not getting by. Yeah, we get by, but how unproductive, how much more could we do and achieve if we actually slept better? But more than just that, if we're sleeping less than 6 hours a night, you're increasing the risk 30%. There's a 30% greater risk for dementia. Socio-demographic, behavioral, cardiometabolic, and mental health factors, including depression, sleeping less than 6 hours a night. So if you want to be motivated to get more sleep at night, you can't live for that night, because that night you really want to watch that or finish reading that or finish having that great conversation. But you have to think about, we have to be living not only in the present, we have to be living for our future selves and understanding the difference that we're making. The sedentary lives. Research links sitting for long periods of time with a number of health concerns: heart disease, type 2 diabetes, certain cancers. American Cancer Study studied 123,000 middle-aged adults. They found women who sat the most had 34% greater risk of dying from any cause over 14 years of study, compared with those who sat the least. For men, the increase was 17%. Sitting, being sedentary, not moving, not getting in steps, it absolutely is taking years off our life that, according to the Paleoites, we will be accountable. Look into the eyes of your children or grandchildren, whether they're here or whether you long for them. Do you want to be able to get on the floor and play with them? Do you want to be at their simchas and walk down their aisle? Do you want to be here for that future and live that future yourself? Go home, get enough sleep. Tomorrow, move around enough, eat right. Because if we think about our future selves, it'll help us live in the present. Similarly, did you know that intermittent sunburn during childhood sets the stage for future skin cancer? The risk of developing skin cancer doubles with 5 sunburns or just 1 blistering sunburn. So when you're a kid, you think, cool, winter break, want to show the New Yorkers, I've got a great tan. 5 sunburns in your youth, which you're not going to break out with a skin cancer. You won't need Mohs surgery. Nothing's going to happen through your youth. But later in life, a person will pay for not having been careful while they were younger. And the examples could go on and on and on in the quotes of the Rambam and the Paleoites and others. And this is a lesson and a message that we have to share with our children. It's all about our children. Groucho Marx said, why should I care about future generations? What have they ever done for me? But that's not how we live. That's a whole other separate topic of the low birth rate and the disappearing population that we have, the crisis that we have right now, because people don't care about future generations. It's a separate topic. But a person has to be thoughtful about their future. The Gemara at the Tainus, it tells the story of the end of Choni's life. Choni Amagel, who planted and woke up, and the whole future that he lived to see. That we want to be able to see that future. And we have to teach our children. How many stories are there of students who are not getting in where they want to go because something they once posted online is now pulled up? How many shidduchim are called off because somebody heard something from a child or social media post or a picture that made the rounds? How many business things fell apart? Our future self is depending on our present self making the right decisions. Our future self is counting on it. I can tell you this comes up a lot sadly in the area of shidduchim. What's our brand and what's our children's brand? Some people don't even think about their life until their children are now marriageable age, and we're living in the age in which the system is so broken that we don't do reference checks, we do inquisitions on each other. And when they make those phone calls, now we want to wake up and say, so people come and they say, Rabbi, where can I volunteer? Where can you plug me in? What can I do? I said, it's wonderful. What inspired you? I said, I have a child who's going to be in shidduchim. And when they call, someone needs to be able to say, they volunteer, they do this, they show up for that, they're sitting on this board, they work on that project, they attend this. And you know what? Often it's too little, too late. Our future selves, our children's future selves, are counting on our present selves, living our best lives, living our right lives. The brand that we're creating, the legacy that we're living, we can't make up for it. At the end, it's all being shaped and molded. We're determining it. We're influencing it right now. Now is the time. Now is the time. And that's true for our davening. Our davening as well. Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sachs, Zechron Livracha, Rabbi Sachs wrote, the world we build tomorrow is born in the prayers we say today. So many things we're davening so hard for right now, and we don't feel or see necessarily that they're answered. So we wonder, why bother? Why are we davening? But do we appreciate and do we understand that the lives that we have right now is Hashem answering yes to our parents and grandparents davening? If we have health and we're here and we have children and we have grandchildren, it's because our parents, when they lit the candles, said an extra tefillah. It's our parents, they showed up and they davened for us. Our prayers, the world we build tomorrow is born in the prayers that we're saying today. in the prayers that we're saying today, we're not just davening for the instant gratification. We're not just davening for the on-demand answers. I asked Hashem for this. He didn't say yes. There is no God and there's nothing. All that we have right now is because our parents and grandparents poured out their heart and davened, and our lives today are Hashem's yes to their prayer of yesterday. Well, if we want Hashem to say yes tomorrow for our children and grandchildren, then we have to put in the prayers today. We have to be aware of and invested in our future selves. So I want to encourage everyone. Here's the homework. There's a great website. There's a great website called futureme.org. Futureme.org is a website that you could write a letter to your future self. And then it sends it to you at a prescribed date. And you'll forget about it. And you won't remember it. At some point in the future me. This L will sit down and say, 5 years, 10 years, 1 year from now, who do I want to be? How am I taking better care of my physical health, my emotional health, my mental health, my spiritual health? Who do I want to be? What do I want to achieve in my learning, in my davening, in my chesed, in my volunteering, as a husband or wife or mother or father or son or daughter? How do I want to be, and what do I want to be doing differently? How can I picture my future and make the choices to live the life in the present that will yield that future? It's time to take control. We all know the story of Sir Alfred Nobel. The Nobel Prize is named for him. Everybody knows the story of Sir Alfred Nobel, who read his obituary in the paper. He had developed the weapons of mass destruction that were able to be used in wars that could eliminate large numbers of people. And that's how he was being remembered. They thought mistakenly that he had died, and there was an obituary. And the obituary recounted that Alfred Nobel's great contribution to this world was inventing the weapons of mass destruction that could take countless lives. And he read about it and he said, I don't want that to be how I'm remembered. That's my future. That's my legacy. That's how I'll be remembered. That's not what I want. And therefore, he reapplied himself, he reinvented himself, and he invented the Nobel Prize to award achievement and breakthrough. And now we associate Nobel not with weapons of destruction. We associate Nobel instead, Sir Alfred Nobel, the Nobel life. So reverse engineer your life. What do you want said at your funeral? What do you want said at your funeral? I think about that often as a rabbi. I go to a lot of funerals. I officiate a lot of funerals. Rabbi Brody does. You walk away from an unveiling, and you hear children and grandchildren. You hear descriptions of people, and you say, are they going to say that about me? What are they going to say about me? And the answer of what they will say about us, hopefully a long time in the future, is being determined today. Those memories are being created today. Were we patient? Did we make time? What were our values? What did we communicate? How did we model? What legacy do we want to leave? So how can we reverse engineer our life? We need to live now for what we will want to be said tomorrow about us. So please God, all of us should lean in and to learn to live and to see our future selves. And by living with the awareness of our future selves, to be our best present selves in a way, please God, that will have an incredible year, a year that will bring besoros, tovos, yeshuas, v'nechamos. Should hear only good things for all of us and for Klal Yisrael. Thank you for coming.